Luke 17:21, challenges the conventional understanding of heaven as an external location. The verse introduces the idea that the kingdom of God is not a place one goes to. Instead, the kingdom of God is presented as being within. This suggests a more internal or spiritual interpretation. The focus shifts from a physical destination to an inner state or presence. The Greek phrase entos hemon is examined for its original meaning. Entos translates to inside or within. The phrase implies a concept located internally. Modern translations may not fully capture this original, internal emphasis. The analysis challenges interpretations that dilute the phrase's inherent meaning. Some Bible translations alter specific phrases, impacting theological interpretations. The phrase, in you, is sometimes changed to in your midst or among you. This alteration shifts the focus from individual inner divinity to a collective presence. The change potentially weakens the concept of personal divine connection. This intentional shift in wording can lead to varied theological understandings. Recognizing the kingdom within diminishes reliance on external religious structures. This recognition reduces dependence on the fear of external punishment. It also lessens the perceived need for intermediaries. Intermediaries are often seen as necessary to define God or divine will. Understanding the internal kingdom fosters a more direct and personal spiritual connection. The concept introduces individuals as possessing their own divine territory. This perspective emphasizes the inherent autonomy and sovereignty of each person. Viewing individuals as divine territories challenges systems based on external control. Such systems often seek to manage or dictate individual actions and beliefs. The idea of divine territory suggests an inherent resistance to such control. This resistance stems from the individual's perceived right to self-determination and freedom. The period following Yahshua's death saw a significant transformation. Initially, there was a focus on individual spiritual awakening and transformation of hearts. Over time, the emphasis shifted towards establishing structured religious frameworks. This transition involved the development of organized religious communities and hierarchies. The rise of Constantine and the Roman Empire played a crucial role in this shift. These historical developments influenced the evolution of religious institutions and their societal impact. Early Christianity underwent a transformation influenced by Roman culture and practices. Sacred gatherings were replaced by formalized church buildings, mirroring Roman architectural styles. The role of prophets diminished, with priests becoming the primary religious authorities. This shift centralized the interpretation of God, aligning with the Roman emphasis on hierarchical structure. This analysis draws a parallel between historical colonization and internal spiritual displacement. Colonization often involved the suppression or removal of indigenous spiritual beliefs. The removal of traditional spiritual practices was used as a tool against colonized populations. This spiritual void was exploited to exert control and influence. The focus is on the impact on African and indigenous peoples during the colonization era. European missionaries arrived in Africa with multiple objectives. Their mission extended beyond the primary goal of spreading Christianity. The Bible was a central tool in their evangelical efforts. However, religious conversion was intertwined with other agendas. These agendas often included cultural and political influences. The missionaries' presence significantly impacted African societies. Sacred African rituals were deliberately mislabeled as witchcraft. Ancestral wisdom was dismissed and discredited as mere paganism. This systematic demonization served to disconnect people from their traditional spirituality. The result was a cultural and spiritual disruption of indigenous belief systems. Religious imposition involves strategies to undermine indigenous spiritual practices. One tactic is constructing churches near or directly adjacent to sacred trees. This juxtaposition visually asserts the dominance of the new religion. Another method involves renaming existing holy sites with religious names. These actions collectively aim to erase and replace indigenous spiritual connections. Mission schools aim to civilize indigenous populations. This civilizing process involved disconnecting individuals from their traditional spiritual beliefs. Spiritual disconnection was a tool used to exert control. Severing spiritual ties diminished the perceived power of the colonized. Mission schools played a role in cultural and spiritual assimilation. African converts were instructed to abandon their traditional cultures. This process led to the rejection of indigenous practices and beliefs. The imposed cultural shift resulted in a form of cultural suicide. Traditional cultural identity was suppressed in favor of new norms. The narrative explores the psychological consequences of informing individuals that their ancestors were demons. It examines the emotional and mental distress caused by labeling ancestral rituals as sinful. This revelation can lead to feelings of shame, guilt, and disconnection from one's heritage. The psychological impact may include identity crises and altered perceptions of self-worth. The script interprets colonization as a form of spiritual warfare. In this context, the church is depicted as a key player. The church's role involves the subjugation of minds. This perspective highlights the ideological dimensions of colonial power. Indigenous spirituality demonstrates remarkable resilience in the face of colonization. The deep understanding of the divine within persisted despite external pressures. This spiritual knowledge was carefully preserved through various cultural forms. Beads served as tangible reminders and symbolic representations of spiritual beliefs. Songs acted as vehicles for transmitting sacred stories and spiritual practices across generations. Rituals provided structured frameworks for communal worship and spiritual connection. Contemporary spirituality finds expression in various forms. Prayer serves as a common method for spiritual connection and communication. Rhythmic practices, such as chanting or drumming, induce altered states of consciousness. Connection to nature provides a sense of belonging and spiritual grounding. Yahshua's central message focused on the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God, according to Yahshua, exists within individuals. His teachings were not aimed at establishing a new religious institution. The emphasis was on internal spiritual transformation. Therefore, the core of Yahshua's message is about inner divinity. The message posed a significant threat to the empire's stability. This threat led to the execution of the message's originator. The empire sought to control the message's dissemination and interpretation. Controlling the message was crucial for maintaining the empire's power and authority. Luke 17:21 is re-examined for its deeper meaning. The verse is presented as a source of profound truth. This truth has the power to liberate individuals from constraints. It emphasizes the concept of spiritual sovereignty. Spiritual sovereignty suggests inner authority and freedom. Belief in the inherent kingdom within fosters spiritual sovereignty. This belief system diminishes the influence of external authorities. It prevents religious figures from commodifying spirituality for personal gain. It also protects against governmental control and manipulation through fear. Spiritual sovereignty is identified as a significant challenge. The church views spiritual sovereignty as a potential threat. This threat is perceived within an indoor setting. The concept is discussed during daylight hours. Focusing on the kingdom within shifts one's priorities from external validation. This awakening leads to a reduction in supporting external systems. The individual begins to question systems that do not resonate with their core values. Obedience to misaligned systems diminishes as self-awareness increases. The soul's alignment becomes the primary compass for decision-making. The script promotes the idea of actively creating a better world. It suggests viewers should not passively wait for a future ideal. Instead, it encourages building a heaven in the present. This involves manifesting justice, love, and healing. It also emphasizes the importance of establishing truth in daily life. The video emphasizes that the kingdom of God is an internal reality. This inner kingdom is not something to be attained, but rather remembered. Viewers are encouraged to maintain a state of awakened awareness. The message promotes staying connected to the inherent truth residing within each individual.